Welcome, Libra, to your June Moon Magic deep dive forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. The month of June has four key lunations, but right at the end of May, the full moon in Sagittarius on the last day, that provides a backdrop for the first 2 weeks of June too. I'm going to unpack all of those for you from a Libra perspective. The moon's very much about nurture, protectiveness, our inner world, our emotions, security, where we live, who with, and how, and our family interactions. And by the end of the video, I'll give you a lunar perspective in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances for the whole month. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So as we came into the new month, we had that mighty blue moon in the free-spirited, passionate fire sign of Sagittarius, which is very much a truth seeker and speaker. But also, in terms of the moon, Sagittarius likes a degree of personal space and independence. And for you in the third house, that can be your everyday interactions. But up the top of your chart, the sun in that ninth house, very much to do with being more adventurous and widen your horizons. So I guess the moon was saying it's important to understand what needs to be done at the heart of your world. But Mars, the planet of passion and desire in the eighth house, very deep, very intense, was in a quincunx with that third house position. So whatever you were talking about, as last month came to a close and are talking about or thinking about as you come into the new month, you may find that there's some compulsions attached to that. Maybe it is to do with what you're wanting to change at the moment because of Uranus being in that ninth house. So if you are feeling penned in by anything, your determination to assert yourself can be very strong through the first 2 weeks of this month. But we just also need to be aware that in your relationship sector, Saturn links to Venus in a square, Venus, your ruler. And Venus and Jupiter and latterly Mercury, then the Sun, are all going to be highly influential as far as your professional hopes are concerned for this month. And particularly from the 21st, when the Sun switches into Cancer and we have the solstice, that is a brilliant opportunity for you to showcase your talents. But just be aware that initially, as you come into the month, it may be that in professional situations, there could be some tensions or maybe a little bit of a power battle in a personal relationship too. And perhaps that third ninth house energy is you wanting to change things up, have a bit more variety in your world. Now, let's go through to the first of the two quarter moons. It's on the 8th, it's in the sign of Pisces. And for you, that's very much about obligations and responsibilities, can be your routines. Pisces moon energy is incredibly sensitive. So that moon position there is clashing with the sun. Sixth, ninth house quarter moons can see us because the sun in the ninth house can be very much about amplification and, dare I say, exaggeration. If there is something that you want to focus on and getting more organized, just be conscious of not getting pulled into promising to do something for someone else that eventually then over the following week can make you feel a bit resentful. So don't try to do too much. Now, at the heart of the month, I should just say I do apologize that Venus and Jupiter do come into the conjunction exactly on the 9th, and that does coincide with that quarter moon. We also have Mercury, which moves into your 10th house on the first day. That's heading towards them as well. So the sixth house moon can be about your work. And as long as you don't get into that situation, if you have an interview or do a presentation or a proposal, you keep it very grounded. I think your enthusiasm can shine through, but most of all, your personality power. So that can still come to the fore on that quarter moon. So on the Gemini new moon, which is at the heart of the month, that communicational sparkle that comes with Gemini, pardon me, is is animated more because of the moon's presence. So a new moon is when the sun and the moon are collaborating. But the moon doesn't really do Gemini in a technical sense. The moon prefers to be in water signs, or it really enjoys being in Taurus, where it's in exaltation. So it's a bit ungrounded. It's known as being in peregrine, but it is actually supported superbly by Jupiter and Mars, both in semi-sextiles. So if around that professional situation, particularly because on this event, Mars and Mercury forge an amazingly positive link. If on a professional situation, it means changing what you're doing at the moment, relocating. It could be if you work in public relations, marketing. If you are publishing anything, you work in the news sector, you have your own channel. This is a glorious opportunity, this new moon, to raise your profile in a very direct and imaginative way, not least because Pluto and Uranus are forging a tremendous trine, which is going to get tighter the more we go into the back end of 26. So the more enterprising you are and the more open you are to fresh approaches, the better it can be. That brings us then to the second of the quarter moons, which is in your sign. And the intriguing thing, Libra, is just as the sun moves on the 21st and we have the solstice, ushering in Cardinal Quadrant 2, the second quarter of the Western tropical astrological year, which is based on the seasons, starting with the vernal equinox. What we have is the moon immediately moves into your sign, but the sun has risen right to the top of your chart, and for the last 10 days of this month gives you a chance to really raise your profile with the furnace of the sun's energy helping you to drive forwards. You can see, however, that Venus, pardon me, Jupiter and Mercury very close together, but look at Mars. Mars from this point is in a great link with Mercury, but through the next 10 days, a wonderful link to Jupiter too. So if you are wanting to monetize your ambitions, your flair and your talent, but also have the confidence to raise that profile, it's a great set of influences to have. What the moon's saying to you is, does it feel right in terms of your own needs? Because we can lean into what's required of us in a more conventional environment, big business usually, or just contracts and things like that. But if we're going against our inner instincts, that's when issues can come up. You can also see on that quarter moon that Neptune's in an opposition, and they both forge, therefore, a T-square to the sun. So very important, if you're not sure about a professional situation, that you don't make any quick binding decisions. In fact, your ruler Venus is linking back to Pluto in a very intense way in this part of the month. But I do feel you get the chance to use the energy that's been building up all month in a more determined way with the sun, but just don't go against your inner voice. That brings us to the full moon on the 29th of the month in the practical Capricorn. But look at Mercury and Jupiter, they're coalescing ever closer in the 10th house of success. It's just that Mercury goes into its retrograde on the 29th, as well as the lunation. But there's the moon in your fourth house. So again, rather like that quarter moon, it's not just success, particularly in the material plane, that really is important to you. It's going to be, does the inner narrative feel comfortable? Do you like the people you work with? Will it be suitable for your home life? Will you have to travel too far? Be away from home a lot? Is the atmosphere of where you're working really working for you too as well? So that's intriguing. But remember at the start of the month, Libra, we did have Venus and Saturn in a bruising right angle. And any weak relationship may have been seized into the open at the beginning of June, but look at the end of June. Venus and Saturn are actually forging a tremendous alliance. So the relationships that are working well can certainly show up. And also by this time, Mars, the planet of action, has moved into the most freedom part of your loving part of your chart and is coming into a conjunction with Uranus over the last few days. So if you're not enjoying where you're working at the moment, it's a great opportunity to use the confidence that you have, but also your ability to cultivate people very skillfully. You can do that on that full moon. So if you're not enjoying a job and really think that you should change it, the planets are looking very helpful to support a transition if that's what you decide to do. Now, of course, what I haven't spoken about is Mercury going retrograde suggests that if you had thought at the start of the month that everything was going in the right direction around your work and you end it with being unsure, well, that would fit. But what you will have is Jupiter moving on the 30th into Leo for the following 13 months. Hasn't been here for 11 years. So that's a great chance for you to network, use your contacts, which can be very influential over the upcoming time. But also, you're entering a time which will be much more playful and social for you, which is really exciting to look forward to. So, to summarize broadly the whole month, I think the first two-thirds, pardon me, is very much about being in touch with a need to express yourself in a free way and not feeling too pinned in. However, as the month goes on, your professional and worldly interactions do become more important. And that restlessness that may have shown up earlier in the month, particularly if it is around your work, it has to be directed towards something for you to feel really safe. And that's what the moon position at the end of the month is asking you to be conscious of. I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next. But just to say, Libra, I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. For many years, it's buy two, get 30% off. It's now buy one, get three. Why? Because of the cost of living increases. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. Helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our lives. Gives us some more intimate understanding of those energies. Free, your 12 months transit and your draconic soul karmic analysis, which looks at life, astrology, and ourselves in a uniquely different way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June monthly forecast, that's on the screen. Your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please check out my testimonials below. I've worked with people the world over. And finally, if you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fire to your device each morning for your early days celestial pit stop, please take advantage of that below. So to summarize, energy. We go back to the very beginning of the month. I think you could have a lot of nervous energy. How do we feel about nervous energy? But there could also be some stuff rooted deep within you with the South Node in Virgo. It's very perfectionist. Maybe some of the routines that have been important to you over time have become a little bit too controlling of you. Just be conscious that the position of Uranus interacts with that T-square across your psychological and practical well-being, and maybe trying some fresh approaches could be liberating for your energy. But I think you will have quite a bit as the month begins. As far as your professional situation is concerned, it could be a month of transition, but in a very productive way. Something might come to a close, but something better could well replace it. If you're in an environment where you feel really comfortable, remember moon energy is all about how we feel. I feel you can go from strength to strength. I don't feel the Mercury retrograde, even though the pre-retrograde shadow starts on the 13th, will necessarily show up for you. And just know that in terms of your long-term finances, Chiron, the so-called wounded healer, moves into your 8th house on the 19th. The 8th house can be shared finances and resources. Chiron in Taurus is asking us to think about our value. I want you to really set your intention on your personal value. If you're open to being very flexible in your approach to any part of your situation, but particularly around relationships and travel somewhere or connect to someone who's further afield, it could be a sparkling month for romance, but it could start for some people with a tie really stuttering with Saturn in that square with Venus. But sometimes that aspect just tests us out. And maybe what the relationship needs more than anything else is a change of scene. So if you can do something together that's a bit more spontaneous, that can reinvigorate things. But latterly, as the month goes on, you can see that Venus forges a great link to Saturn. So it could be someone you're very familiar with. It may be through your job that you just find yourself thinking about that person a great deal more as the month comes to a close. But again, the moon's speaking into your situation and saying, how does it feel? Thank you so much for joining me, Libra. Have a great June. Look forward to seeing you again soon.